What's up, everybody? My name is Brandon Corey Alexander, aka JustBCA, and I have one of probably my favorite guests in all of the interviews that I have planned. One of my good friends, Mr. Michael Spandex, as I like to call it, his formal name. But he goes by the name Mikey. And he is a professional wrestler, a CrossFitter, I guess. I don't know. He does CrossFit. I don't really know if there's like a verb for that. He's a man of many hobbies. You like all kinds of different shit, video games, game night with your friends and family and stuff like that. And he's a good storyteller. So welcome, Mikey. What's good?
What's up? I mean, yeah, CrossFitter is the right word, by the way. Yes, okay. We call it. That is the exact proper word.
I didn't know if it was like Spartan or like crazy.
Spartans are races, so those are like obstacle courses. But I mean, I have Spartans, but I don't know if they have a name or if they just call themselves Spartans.
I mean, technically you're right, because Spartans were a race of people.
Yeah, that's what would that get to
Greece.
Spartan racers call themselves just Spartans because they're not actually Spartan.
Yeah, they do the like those decathlon or whatever they're trying.
They're obstacle courses, but by measurement they do different ones. So I think they have 3 or 4 different races, and they're all different lengths. So like the sprint is like 4 miles. It's like 4, 6, and 8. And then they have like the Spartan Beast or Super Beast or something like that. And it's like half a marathon.
So in other words, things I can't do. So yeah, I don't care.
Fair enough. Yeah. They're really, that's the whole reason.
Man, let's talk about your wrestling career. How'd you get started, and favorite moment so far?
So I started wrestling in August of 2017. Just like everybody else or most wrestlers, I've been a wrestling fan all my life, probably since age 4. Maybe fell off every now and then, just because I was getting older, and one point probably thought it was kid stuff and then got back into it, just like probably everybody does too.
Fair.
I discovered a wrestling school probably back when I was actually in my early 20s. Through my cousin who was going to a local wrestling school in Orlando. He told me about it. We looked at the pricing and my parents were like, it's not worth doing, pipe dream, yada, yada. Fast forward to 2017, I was graduating. I finished grad school. I was starting my career. I was actually in the middle of it, like the middle of starting it. So it was my first year as a school counselor. And I ended up just one day, just looking up out of curiosity, Googling a wrestling school, and I found Pro Wrestling 2.0, and I saw it was like 30 minutes from my house, which is half the distance of what like a 3D or anything like that is from me, at least as far as local schools go. So the funny part about that was in the fall. I was just looking into it as an idea to do in the summer because I have summers off, so I can just dive right in and go crazy. When I called, it was so funny that I was on the phone with Alex Porto, the man who owns it. And I was explaining everything. He's like, okay, cool. So I'll see you Monday. And I'm like, that's not what I said. But he's like, all right, cool. See you then. Hangs up. And I'm like, what? No, God damn it. So I ended up still going. Like somehow that Monday I ended up going. So it was a Friday. I ended up going on Monday in August when my plan was to go in June. And that was also more so because of my buddy Paul, who a lot of my friends are huge influences on me and pushing me to be better, which it's great people to surround yourself with.
So back up there. You said you went on a Monday in August when you planned on going in June. So you planned on going a month prior or the following year?
No, like the following June coming out.
Oh.
Like that school year. That way I had the whole summer off.
Okay.
So when he hung up, so I talked with my buddy Paul. A lot of my friends are like big influences, or I talked to him about it. So I was talking to him and I let him know what happened. And he goes, well, you can do one of 2 things. One, you can stick to your plan, like you said, and go in June. And as long as you stick to it, that's fine. But if not, and you have any moment of hesitation where you think you wouldn't stick to your plan, you should pull the trigger and do it now.
Yeah.
And I think just over the weekend, I basically said, fuck it, and dove in. And it was literally, I was thrown to the wolves. So Monday was first day of training. 2.0 runs like monthly shows on Tuesdays. It's usually like the second Tuesday, and it just so happened to be for that too. So they're like, we have a show tomorrow. You need to come in and help out, do this, that, and the other student stuff. And I'm like, okay, cool. So, or was it? I might be mixing up timeline stuff, but either way,
I do that a lot.
You know what? I am mixing up timeline stuff. So the first week I went in, I trained my first week, basic stuff. And then the following week, so this was my second week of training, I go in Monday, and that's when they told me about the show. So this is no joke. Maybe my fourth or fifth day was going into the show. That's where I finally meet one of my like main, I guess you can call him my main trainers, Jesus Rodriguez, formerly known as Ricardo Rodriguez. So that's where I meet him. He's writing the card for the show that day. And I also trained with the brothers Lockhart, who I don't know if they're still doing shows or not. I know sometimes they do solo stuff. Anyway, so they were the ones that have been training me these past 4 or 5 days. So we're in for the show, whatever. Jesus is writing the card. I'm helping with setup stuff. They introduce me to him, say hi. He asked me, he goes, how long have you been training? I'm like, this is literally like my fourth or fifth day. He goes, okay, cool. He turns and looks at Andrew Lockhart, and Andrew just gives him a nod. Me, no idea what's going on. I'm brand new to this. Yeah. And goes, okay, you're in a dark match. And I'm like, excuse me? So my first show was 5 days in.
Wow.
As you know, and what you could assume, it went terribly. And yet it still didn't discourage me from coming back. So like I kept going, I kept training, I kept pushing. But I started doing shows consistently, maybe 3 or 4 months in is when I started consistently doing shows.
Damn. I don't think there are a lot of people out there that realize you've been in the business less than 5 years, or about 5 years at this point. Yeah.
So even, Stunt Marshall, he thought I was in just as long as he has. After our first match, he asked me, he's like, how long have you been in? And I think our first match together, I was in for maybe 2.5, 3 years. Year 4 right now. So maybe 2.5, 3 years. And he goes, seriously? He thought I was in just as long as him.
Yeah. Well, because there's certain people on the independent scene that you can look at. And I mean, it doesn't matter if they've been in for 10 years, i.e. Shane Miles, or if they've been in for only a couple of years like you and Kiko. There are just some people who, like, when you look at them, they have something raw, and even if they do suck a little bit, they have the charisma to like carry themselves into the next level. So you don't have, like, wrestling is one of those magical places where you don't have to be the best at everything. You just have to be the best at something, shine at it, and make a name out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it is always smart. And I've learned that in wrestling, to cater to your strengths.
It's always smart in wrestling to be a good wrestler.
Yeah. So like there's going to be stuff you're bad at. I'm not the best at flippy stuff, is the best way the vets call it. I know how to do it. I could do it if I wanted to. It's not exactly clean, but I could still do it. But most of the times when I go somewhere to wrestle, there's already like 3 or 4 guys that will and can do it better than me. So I'm not going to do that. So I cater to my strength, which is my actual strength, you know? So
yeah. Speaking of actual strength, that's a good segue into the next portion. How often, since you have been at the size you are now, have you been mistaken for having fake thighs? There's a fun story in there.
Ever since that show, which was what, this past January? January show, your show, USWA. Were you the one that grabbed me, or was it Ella?
I believe I mentioned it to you. All right.
You
so
had a friend wanted to meet me.
Yeah. Just to give the context. So we're in the middle of a ring. Mikey gets done with his match, and somebody comes up to me and says, yo, is Mikey Spandex wearing thigh pads? And I said, no, those are his actual thighs. And they're like, there's no way. And I'm like, would you like to meet him so you can, awkwardly find out for yourself, however you wish to do so. You can ask a question and you can touch him, I guess. And it was actually Robert's eldest son's friend and roommate at the time, who works out quite consistently, is a really big dude, and his girlfriend. She was the one who thought that they were fake. So I brought Mikey over, and keep
in mind when he brought me over, you still didn't tell me yet.
Right.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah. During show day, I don't explain shit. I just, hey, I need you over here for a minute type.
And of course I listen.
Yeah. Hey man, I need you to take the trash out, even though you just wrestled a 60-minute Iron Man. But yeah, lo and behold, like it just became a thing. So fast forward a little bit past that, like 2 weeks ago, River City Wrestling Con, Mikey gets in the ring with Jose, and me and Lee are trolling each other back and forth, talking about there's no way those fucking things are real. There's no way. Like we're doing, like to keep the allure of the fans, like thinking that something's going on, like the ref and the announcer, or the ref and a wrestler, or the ref and anybody will have a conversation, and it will look intense, but it's really just like a comical moment that they're having. So usually it's me and Lee trolling each other, and he knows the story. So he comes up to me, he's like, hey man, there's no fucking way those are real. Not a single chance in hell those are real. Like I'm just looking at him like, yeah, you know what? I think you're right, man.
For that. Because somebody said something too. I think it was USWA. Somebody asked me if I was wearing pads underneath my ear, and I told them straight up, I was like, no, these are my actual thighs.
Yeah. It's still mind boggling.
Yeah.
Do you have to wear like a different size pants or something?
So funny enough, so to explain how I fit into pants, I guess is how this is going.
Let's just go there.
I have a small waist, but giant thighs. So it's my waist size. I would say I'm about a 32, but my thighs, we measured it out as far as what kind of pants would fit me. I need like a 38 to a 40 in order to fit my thighs in.
He's a thick boy.
Yeah. So no joke, this actually happened last year. I was a groomsman in a wedding, and we were getting our pants from Men's Warehouse. That's where he was getting it. We didn't have a choice. So we were going in to get fitted, and I went in for the fitting. And the guy's like, what pant size are you? I go, I'm a 38, but please I'm a 32, but please get a 38 or a 40. He goes, oh, 32, that's fine. I go, no, I am a 32 in waist, so you will need to hem down the pants, but get me a 38 or 40. He goes, okay, comes back with the 32, and I'm like, that's not what I said. And he goes, they should fit fine. I go,
do you not see the massive ham hocks?
I'm like, they won't fit fine. So I put them on. I'm able to get my legs through, but my legs are stiff as a board. Like if I bend in any way, shape, or form,
that fabric is going.
So I'm out. I put them on, and the guy asked me to come out. So I waddle to make sure anything, and he just looks at me and goes, oh. And I look at him, I go, I told you. So he comes out, I think he comes out with a 40, and I put him on, and I'm holding the waistband as high as possible, but I can move now. So I showed him, and he goes, you were not kidding. I go, you should have listened to me the first time.
I hate people like that.
And here's the worst part. We got a 40 for the legs to like that size, and then we hemmed the waist down. They still ripped at the wedding.
Wow.
Yeah. So
like an embarrassing moment rip, or was it just like you got up from a chair?
Moment. I was tying my shoes. Like I joke, my foot on top of a coffee table to tie my shoe, and I just hear a right before the wedding.
Oof.
So luckily, there's one of the other groomsmen was very handy, and they got a sewing kit. They sewed the crotch back up, and then we went out for the wedding where everything was fine. And then we get to the reception, everyone's dancing, they rip again. And they're still ripped in my closet. The bright side is it's those Men's Warehouse pants where you can get like free hemming for life.
Yeah.
I never brought them back because I'm like, there's no point because they're just going to rip again.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you're a thick boy and can squat 4,000 pounds.
I wish I could squat 4,000 pounds. That'd be awesome.
What's your max squat?
Back squat is 475. Front squat is 375.
Jesus.
Fine, I'm 5'7" and 187 pounds. So keep that in consideration too. So I'm still under.
It always baffles me. Like when I meet people that I become friends with, especially in the wrestling business, people don't realize I am as heavy as I am for as small a stature as I am.
Yeah.
Like you're massively cut up as a wrestler. You're very athletic and stuff like that. You're 187 pounds. Myself, I'm just a naturally thick boy at 205. But when you see me, it's like, oh, he's not 205. He's like 190, something like it, maybe 180.
Didn't I guess that? I said like 175.
Yeah.
And you were like, no, I'm still 200. But I was like, it's because you're tall.
Well, yeah. Because I went through a weight loss journey myself throughout COVID. I lost like 80 some odd pounds. I think I was 86 whole pounds at one point in time.
That big to lose 80 pounds. Dude, I do not. We first met, I do not remember you being that big.
You see, that's the thing. Like when we first met, I wasn't. But then when I got an office job, I just kept eating and not doing nothing. But I come from both sides of my family are thick people. They're not tall, but they're just wide. Like if big boned actually was a thing, like that would be my definition, because I am a wide statured, broad shouldered. Like I'm having a hard time like just holding my shoulders down because like my traps, dude.
Yeah,
I'm just
my family is the same. Mostly obese, like just because my family has never been the type to enjoy fitness or working out. I'm to this day the only one who truly enjoys working out in my family. Like my brother does it. He still doesn't like it anywhere as much as I do, where like for me, it's basically an addiction, where my brother, he's doing it now basically to the point for like losing weight. But like that was, my brother's basically like, imagine me, but like double in size is my brother. And even my brother still looks like he's in shape, even though he doesn't work out much. But my brother gets confused. The best way to describe like his build and stature is he's built like a Samoan. So he's a big, husky, athletic looking dude, and he's working on losing weight too. And it's funny, anytime he comes to any of my shows, everybody asks him if he's a wrestler or if he's considering wrestling. He actually got offered at 2.0 to join a class. Damn. And he won't do it.
Like with working out for me, I've never like, I don't really go to the gym hardcore. I never have. And the one time that I tried to, I wound up with kidney failure because I didn't stay hydrated. Oh, God. Yeah, I wound up with rhabdomyolysis. Like my kidneys decided to like shut completely down.
Yeah.
Funny story about that though. You always talk about dedication and stuff like that. One of the things I learned is that you always do the job that you agree to. Remember, you were talking about like if you agree to something first, you don't go do something else. So, about a month prior to that, like at this point, I was already, I want to say I was 2 or 3 years into. No, I was probably almost 4 years into USWA, the ring announcing at this point. And about a month prior, I had agreed to, I'm going to be there no matter what. So I decided to like go with a couple of my friends. I was like, we're going to start being athletic, man. I'm going to get in good shape. I'm going to shed some of this weight so I can fit back into my old suit. And we went out and played baseball one day. And then we decided to go to the gym. And meanwhile, keep in mind, my diet is like pretty much like sodium, sodas, Red Bulls, like no water, just pretty much everything. And then on top of that, like pre-workout and protein. And I'm just eating the wrong shit and going to the gym. And then the next day I do the same thing. Next day I do the same thing. Well, one day we went to play baseball and I thought, it was just heat exhaustion. I laid in the bed and I'm like, dude, I feel like I'm fucking dying here. Yeah. Get up, go to work, can't make it through work, call out, go home, drink a Gatorade, pass out, get up. I am dying at this point. Like I take my own temperature and I have like 104-degree fever. I'm like, okay, my brain is going to explode. Time to go to the hospital. Yeah. I get there and like TMI trigger warning, but like, like doctors, when they come in, they do your vitals, they make you pee in a cup. They do lab work, stuff like that.
What color was it?
Brown.
That's the crab though.
Yep. Completely like, but it was like essentially to the point where it was literally killing me. Like the doctor was like, yo, sit down. We're tapping a vein, putting an IV on you. It took 4 bags of IVs to get me back to proper hydration for them to even just like consider bringing my fever down with medication. But here's the thing. I was in the hospital for 3 days. One day was a Saturday. USWA show.
No.
I tell Ella, don't worry, I will be there. Click, 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 click. I'm out, guys. I'll see you in a couple hours. I go to the CVS. I grab a gallon thing of Gatorade. I put my suit on. I go to the show. I'm doing the show with 103-degree fever. Nobody knows I'm sick. I'm sitting by myself in a corner, chugging Gatorade. Call it announcement for every match. 11 o'clock rolls around. All right, guys, have a good night. Go check myself back in the hospital for another 4 days.
Nobody realized it.
Nobody knew it. There was only like 3 people who knew I was in the hospital. It was JD and Ella and a couple of people. But that was it. Yeah. So, but that's the thing. Like with you take CrossFit and fitness very seriously. Mm-hmm. I feel like if I were to do it properly, it would be a problem for me because I have an addictive personality to certain things. And I would start to see the metamorphosis of my physique, and I would just take it way too hard. But I also have a problem with eating because I love shitty food. It's just who I am as a human being.
Yeah,
it's my toxic trait, man.
For MTV True Life, It just made me think of. Do you remember the episodes that I Want the Perfect Body?
Yeah,
those episodes were buck wild. Like the one that always fascinated me was the dude that had to gain like 70 pounds to be considered for D1 college football.
Yeah. And he just put himself through too much bullshit.
Like so much. And then he only ended up gaining like 15 pounds.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, like that show always was like, I loved that show. They need to get back.
I mean, with being in wrestling for both of us, like one of the things that fascinates me about wrestling is not necessarily like the talent or anything like that, but I'm kind of like a Vince McMahon guy. Like I look at physique. So I study the human body. I always have. I love studying the anatomy and the physiology of how the body works. So if you go on my YouTube, there's a rabbit hole of different types of shit. And one of the things that I see about the human body is like, I watch a lot of fighters cutting weight and dying, essentially, trying to shed the water weight, dehydration and stuff like that. Yeah. It's crazy. Like, you ever go through any processes to meet a specific goal?
So funny enough, because you just made me think of it. When I first started wrestling, I weighed 165 pounds. So I was lean, shredded, everything. So to prep for shows, it became ritualistic, which I still somewhat do it to this day. I've definitely adjusted it now, but I used to show days. I didn't eat normally. Like it wasn't even nerves. It was just more of like, I want to feel like I don't feel bloated, you know?
You want to feel that empty feeling.
Exactly. So then I was like, and then I just gorge after a show. So I'm just drinking water all day. That way I at least am hydrated and I feel some form of energy. Sometimes drink an energy drink or a pre-workout. That way I still have the energy. But it got to the point that it became more habitual than it did ritualistic. So it wasn't like as long as I do this, I have a good match, you know, like how people have those rituals. I didn't really have that. That's what I thought it was, but it wasn't. So I realized, because also balancing wise, I was also doing Olympic weightlifting competition and CrossFit competition. So with Olympic weightlifting, there's weight classes. So I had to maintain my weight as well. So I was 169 was my weight class, which I think is 70.
Nice.
So, right. So I had to maintain around that weight. So I usually bounce around between 165 and 171. There's always like a weight range for me, which I fluctuate when I get to that maintaining stage. So at first I thought it was because of I'm trying basically 3 different sports at the same time. So I made the sacrifice and cut out 2 out of the 3, kept wrestling. But then I still kept getting hurt. So there was like foot issues, ankle issues. I minimally tore my rotator cuff at one point.
Jesus,
I was always in some kind of pain, but I always fought through it. Like my WWE tryout in 2019 was literally maybe in the middle of the recovery stage of my rotator. And yeah, this is the first time I've said anything. They don't know I even had that issue. So I went through the whole
tags WWE.
Right. But I mean, because it was never documented. My doctor just told me, and we never documented it because we just got the MRI and we're like, we can tell it's a tear, but it's not one that is worth like diagnosing as a tear, because it wasn't one that required major surgery. It just required PT, and my PT sucked. So I didn't even end up going to PT. I told my doctor to write it off and I'll do it myself with my coach, which we ended up doing. So digressing from that. Yeah. So that was when the minimal tear happened, was the eye opener for me, where I was just like, okay, let me sit down and figure out what is going to help me not be hurt all the time.
Right.
Spoke with my chiropractor. I spoke with my coach and everything. And what we boiled it down to was possibly I'm too light. So I guess I'm just more injury prone when I'm lighter. So I remember when I was like around 180, that was like my happy weight, where I was like basically how a fighter is. Like my resting weight is usually around 180. So we're like, okay, let's bulk. Let's try to do a somewhat clean bulk and see how it goes from there. The goal was to get like 175, 177 range. I ended up getting to 187, which is where I'm at now. Which was great because I actually did it right compared to what I did before in high school when I gained. And I mean, knocking on wood, I've been basically injury free. I've been in probably better shape than I've ever been, while also being stronger than I've ever been, because of doing that clean bulk over COVID. It was actually over COVID too. Right. So doing it slowly, like doing that gain slowly. So I didn't, that 20 pounds was not like one of those like month-long binges. Oh shit, 20 pounds done. It was like done over the course of like 4 months. So it was basically 5 pounds a month. So it was done right. And that's, I mean, my thighs obviously compared were even more massive. You've seen the recent picture because it was taken at a USWA show, and we're like, yo. And then even our last show that we had last week, where I'm holding up, which I posted, holding up a suplex at Treehouse Lee, like I've gotten bigger and it's becoming more noticeable. Oh yeah. So now with that, now that I'm where I'm at, I did do a CrossFit competition last year, and that was my first competition in about 5 or 6 years. So, and it gave me my hunger back, because I know where I'm at and I know what I'm capable of. So I want to get back into competition shape while also still maintaining my current. So I will be probably competing in a CrossFit competition within the next couple of months as well.
Oh, good. Yeah. You're one of those people who, you're not known as a body guy. You're not known as an athlete. You're known as a well-rounded guy, because when we start booking our shows and stuff like that, Ella and I, as well as JD and others who are part of the team, we watch various independent circuits and stuff like that. And I remember, I forgot where it was, really don't care. I think it was probably either a Go Wrestle show or something else. Mm-hmm. It may have been I don't know. But anyway, I remember Ella said something about wanting to check out. It couldn't have been, because it was at a gymnasium. I remember this very vividly, and I just can't remember the name of the company. But Ella wanted to check out Mikey Spandex and a couple of other people. I'm like, what kind of fucking douchey name is Mikey Spandex? Like, what the hell? Who the hell is Mikey Spandex? Like, who the hell is Mikey Spandex? You know, because I have people that I like, obviously. And once you're in that circle, you of all people know, like, those are the people that I feed. I love being around those people. And so I'm thinking, who the fuck is Mikey Spandex? So we get there, and you have on, I want to say it's the Pac-Man tights. Oh. And probably. Literally, I'm like, oh, I get it. Spandex. I get it.
Yep.
Blah, 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 blah. Just another dude with a gimmick. And then, like, you started to wrestle. I'm like, holy shit, this kid's got something. And at the time, this was like 2 or 3 years ago, so I had no idea you were a green boy. Like, I didn't know that this was still like early stages for you, that you were trying to develop something. And I'm like, okay, cool. So the whole conversation on the ride home was like, so what'd you think? I'm like, I don't know, just another dude. Because at the time you were a lot smaller. You didn't really have anything that stood out. And I'm not even
drive for you.
Was it?
Was it a long drive to that show that you did, that you went to and saw me?
Yes. I mean, it's one of three places. It's either Tampa, Orlando, or Clearwater.
I'm thinking
Daytona.
FEW. You said it was in a gymnasium. That was when you guys were close with them too.
It was FEW.
Okay, I know exactly what match you saw too. That was me. What's his name? Curvin or something like that. He doesn't wrestle anymore.
Yeah.
In the military.
Yeah, it actually was FEW.
I know exactly what match that is. Yeah, that was like, oh my god! I was only 6 months in. Yeah.
But that's the thing is like I'll go watch these shows with her and stuff like that, and I'll be like, what? Like she'll mention people like Jake Logan. Like I've never heard of Jake Logan, and then all of a sudden, like I see
years.
He's
been doing this for like 10 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I get the rundown for him because he actually was booked on one of our shows and then had to back out for personal reasons and stuff. But I was getting the rundown like NWA National, blah blah blah. This I'm like, I've never heard of this guy.
The youngest NWA National TV channel, bit like that. Yeah.
Like I'm a huge mark for wrestling. Like I'm a huge mark for all kinds of wrestling. It doesn't matter what it is, like TVs, indies, kind of like I have a YouTube playlist dedicated to specific stuff I see randomly. And I've never heard of this guy. And his whole gimmick is I am Jake Logan. Like what's my name is Jake Logan. I've still never heard of you. What? I don't care. Same thing with Kiko Harris. Dude, it took me forever to realize that Kiko Harris had long hair at one point in time when I first saw him.
Every time I see those pictures, I don't believe it.
I was like, that wasn't him. Because that guy sucked. I still watch him. Like they've been wrestling together for a while. And like, even with him and long hair, I was like, dude, he sucked, but he didn't. It was just my perception of how I remember things. Like he cut the hair. He did the whole, like, I'm handsome and better than you gimmick. And like, he essentially was MJF before MJF was MJF, just less douchey.
Right.
But yeah, like, is there a moment where a fan has come up to you and said, hey, I remember you for doing this, but you know for certain it wasn't you that they're remembering? Like if I explained it well enough.
You did, but it's more so with other workers that it's happened. It never really happened with wrestlers, so I love this guy to death. I love him so much. I'm just adding that now. The referee, Brucey.
Yeah.
So I couldn't tell you what show it was. I want to say it was Warrior Breed that he was reffing. He was with us and he's talking to me and he starts bringing up some story about how him and I did. I don't even remember what the story was, but he starts talking about it. And in my head, I'm like, what is he talking about? Like I had zero clue what he was talking about. Yeah. I had no idea. And I'm pretty sure it wasn't. Yeah. Like I have no
It wasn't me.
Yeah. I'm 100% sure it wasn't me in this story. And I just went with it. I was like, yeah, man, of course. So, and Bruce was one of the first referees I got close with. He's such an awesome guy. I love that guy.
Were we friends when you were working for PBE?
We weren't as close as we are now, but we knew each other.
I'm still like ADHD. I'm still trying to put it together, man.
Yeah. We knew each other, but I don't think I was working for USWA yet.
No, you weren't. I think that was when I was doing the early stages of I am now the co-owner type thing. Yeah. So trying to bring new people in.
Like that right timeline.
Yeah.
But I only did one show with PBE.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's because they only ran like one show and you know what? I digress.
Sounds like we both have some strong stories and feelings about it. I could go in on this dude.
Well, the thing that makes it hard for me for being a wrestling promoter / co-owner of a business is the fact that I have very, I wouldn't say they're biased opinions, but I have very realistic opinions. I keep it 100. I keep it a buck with every single person that I cross paths with. I keep it real. And sometimes it's hard for me to differentiate between fan and boss. And like, it's not necessarily a bad thing because that just means that I'm going to keep it very real with you whenever you ask a question. I saw a poem a long time ago and it stuck with me ever since. The dude was a teacher and his name was Taylor. I can't remember his last name, but he says, I have the same policy about honesty and ass kicking. And that means that if you ask for it, I have to give it to you. And that's just a motto that I've lived by since I was like 17. So like when I go to wrestling shows and people ask me how, like somebody at USWA, I forgot who it was that got brought in. They were fairly new. I think they were with La Brava. One of the dudes asked me how my match was. And I think it was Tony who was sitting next to him, and he just laughs and he goes, "You don't want to do that." He's like, "Come on, man. I just want to know how my match was." And Tony just looks at me and goes, "You don't want to do that." Because he knows what's coming. Like, I'm going to be very brutally honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sugarcoat things. And I guess that's kind of why I'm so hard on DCCW, which is this weekend. I have to mentally prepare myself for, okay, not everything is going to go perfect. Not everything is going to go according to plan. But when somebody asks me a question, how can we fix this? What do you want to do here? I'm going to straight up tell you.
Right, of course.
And if it's ass, it's ass. Like, there's nothing we can do to fix it. I'm sorry. It's just how I feel. But I feel like that opinion has both earned enough respect and rubbed people the wrong way that I am in a specific demographic of promoter to work with.
Yes, because I prefer those kinds of promoters, obviously. You're so honest about things that, like, it's appreciated because I know it's coming from the heart. Whereas like somebody else, I'm just like, okay, this is just empty BS, you know?
Right.
So to go back, and I can explain certain issues with every promoter I've worked with, every promotion I've worked with, I could do that. But we'll go back to just the one we were talking about, PBE. There are certain promoters, exactly as you say, that it doesn't necessarily say they belong, but there's things they do that makes you think you shouldn't really be running a wrestling show. Yeah. When you are a promoter and you don't keep your finger on the pulse of wrestling, you shouldn't be a promoter. If your finger's on the pulse, but like when you have someone suggesting others for you to come work here, or just telling you, hey, this shouldn't be this way, and you have no idea what they're talking about, that's where you have an issue. That show had a weigh-in for wrestling, for the show. Like, no, it's professional wrestling. It's not MMA. We don't have to have a weight. So that was one thing that really just like, it weirded me out. But like, it's just the way he approached things and the way he tried to make it seem like he was trying, like you could tell what his vision was and what he was trying to build. And I appreciated that, but you could tell that was the downside with this guy, was that you could tell he had no idea what he was doing. Like zero.
Right.
He knew nothing about wrestling.
Well, yeah, that's, I share the same opinion. He ran the first show, and before it even happened, we were talking about who he should book and what he should do. And coming from the experience of someone who was trying to run their own company, way before USWA, like stupid decision, was trying to do something as a musician, as a rapper, as someone who is into all the stuff, the same stuff that he's into. Young Jim, I forget his actual name. Young Jim. He's into music. He's into production. He's really good at it, but he's not made for wrestling. And when I first got brought in, I was not made for wrestling. You have to go experience another company or get experience in the business before you can do anything, anything at all. But I'm at a Blaine Raid show at the Moose, and he's there with Gabe, and he's bringing a camera and he's filming promos for the show, and he's got banners made and he's got flyers and all this other crazy promotional gear. He's doing that part right. But when the show is put on, it's poorly executed. It looks like it has the money of a flashy modern day 2020 promotion, but it has the wrestling roster of a washed up 1980s bullshit going on. He's booking his friends. He's booking people who should not be in the ring, and he's booking people from the Funk Academy or whatever it's called, who Dory School, who look like they shouldn't be in the business at all anymore because they're past their prime and never got booked. And they're only booked because they work for $5 and some food.
Exactly.
And that was my issue, because you're sitting there asking all of my opinions. You're asking my regard towards things. And then when we get there, you totally disregard everything.
Yep.
You've done nothing I told you. Like, who the hell starts a show with a fucking weigh-in?
You ask for advice You give them the advice. They look like and they seem sincere about taking it into consideration, and then they throw all that shit out the window.
You ask specifically for solicited advice, and I give it to you for free, whereas I would charge most people for that.
Right.
You know, it's an internship.
Yeah, and that was one where I learned a lot. Two was when learning how to book. Like I was basically thrown to the fire with that when not even GCW, but before GCW, I booked a show called Jingle Jam, which is it's downtown Sanford's Christmas concert, but they throw in pro wrestling in between the concerts, and that shit ran so smooth. And that one I have to give most of that praise, help, and advice to Kyle Blizzard. Like that dude is a giant mentor for me. Just because he helped me as far as like dealing with the stress of booking a show, while also like knowing how to push a show. Right. Which that one was easy to push because the free advertising for Jingle Jam itself. So there's a guaranteed crowd, which was nice to do that.
Love those.
Well, it was nice to do that. Like the advice I would give anybody is if you are considering being a promoter or booking a show, one, reconsider. That shit is so stressful. Two, if you do it, consider doing a festival show first, because then you don't have to have the stress of ticket buying and shit like that. That teaches you, because what it taught me a lot of was budgeting. Like that which is the number one thing. Learn how to use your money and
100%
learn how
100% agree.
And I mean, unfortunately, you're going to make sacrifices on some people. Like that's where I learned the harsh reality of turning people down on booking, telling people, hey, and I'm just like you, I'm very transparent. So a lot of these guys, I told them straight up, I was like, hey, I have $1,000 budget. I'm not going to afford your rate. I'm telling you this before I even ask for your rate. What would work for you so you can work for me? And that's how I approached it like that. And
I'm going to need 2 bags of Cool Ranch Doritos, 3 green Skittles, and I need all.
The bright side of that though was that I was expecting more blowback from being that honest. And the main thing I got from most of them was honestly, no, we appreciate that even more. Yeah. To the point that I had some workers offer to work for free because of that. And I was like, that's amazing. I ended up paying them anyway. But I ended up having enough left over from that budget that I was able to bonus people. Like perfect example for that, Ronnie Bass. Keep in mind, big Ronnie Bass is one of my closest friends now, because of that Jingle Jam show. That man will do anything and everything. So if you are a promoter, I will push him on your show, sir. If you are a promoter, contact and book Ronnie Bass, because keep in mind, when I started with him, he was still pretty new coming out of Tampa Bay Pro. And I reached out to him because of Aaron Nova. And so I told him, I said, this is what it is. And I wasn't even booking him to wrestle. I was booking him to play Santa. Like, that's it. And he was like, dude, I'm down. And I was like, I have no money for you. I've already used the budget up. And he goes, that's fine, dude. Like, it's okay. And I'm like, all right, cool. So
bet he's not showing up.
You what?
I said, bet he's not showing up.
Right. He did. He was one of the first ones there. So him and his tag partner.
Much appreciated.
And everything. They were awesome. He agreed to be Santa, and like he was the MVP of that show because he was Santa. He had a match. So I ended up giving him a match. So that was the first time Culture faced, well, now First Class. They were the Good Old Boys. So they faced Culture, and here's what happened. My opening match decided, let's have a WrestleMania outside brawl and go crazy and run 6 time, which had to cut their tag match in half. They went from 12 minutes to 6, and Ronnie had to go out and be Santa right before his match. So he literally dressed as Santa, does a segment where he gets kidnapped by Kyle Blizzard and Damian King, so Task Force can come in and save him later. He gets pulled out. As he gets to the back and through the curtain, I sprint through the curtain, run in and go, take your shit off. Your tag match is now. You have 6 minutes. And then I ran, and they put on a fucking show for 6 minutes. Like I ended up, dude. Yeah. So because I think my other team backed out, something happened, but it was the same deal where I had more money in the budget now because some people backed out. I gave myself a pay cut because I was like, this guy needs to get paid.
Yeah, this is too much fun. Here you go. You can have money.
I was like, you have, well, it was just as much as he did. I'm like, they deserve to get paid. So I ended up paying both of them. I was like, you guys have done everything I've asked. You guys have done more than what I've asked in here. So we became good friends after that. And ever since then, we've been fairly close. So we basically talk at least every other day about shit.
That's good. Yeah, it's like you and me. I'm constantly shooting shit to you like every day.
Yeah. It's like my new close wrestling friends outside of the ones I see. So these are the close wrestling friends I don't see often. So obviously Marquis, Malik, Bosidi, like they're ones I see pretty frequently. So they're my closest ones. But my other close ones I don't see would be you, Ronnie Bass, Aaron Nova, and Speedy, which he's now living closer to me now. So I get to enjoy Speedy.
All right. So before I go into the story, to reiterate what you just said, Aaron Nova is one of those people that like I'm not friends with, but I wish I was, and I'm jealous that everybody else is.
He's such a cool dude.
I don't know how, I've only ever crossed paths with Aaron Nova like 3 times.
Yeah.
One was, I think it was at the PBE show. Okay. He doesn't even know who the hell I am. Right. One was at, I think, GCW. Again, doesn't even know who the hell I am. We have a bunch of mutual friends. We're always in the same circles. We've never crossed paths, personally met face to face. Ever.
Yeah, I think you two would get along way too well.
I think we could make comedy gold.
Oh, absolutely. The shit he pushes out is
Dog Daddy, the greatest thing ever.
He's a 20 out of 10. Like
But yeah, going back to the story you were just telling about the whole like booking thing. I understand the struggles, man, because there was a show that I booked back in, I believe it was 2017, that I didn't get you on. I don't think we were talking at the time, February of 2018 or 2017. So
I wasn't around.
Yeah. Yeah. So at the time you weren't even like there. I'm sorry. It was 2018. Okay. Like the whole last 5 years is all one big giant year to me.
Right.
But anyway, like February 2018, I don't know. I'll have to go look real quick. Let me just do some research while we're live, because I don't even care at this point. Like I'm doing it. It's a thing.
Oh gosh. I mean, I've been eating my breakfast while
exactly.
It's that kind of interview this morning.
It is.
Also, I highly recommend getting your own French press. That junk is awesome.
I want one.
Thank you, Prime Day. They're cheap.
That was no turning back to. Yeah, so it was 3 years ago. So what was that, 2018?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, so 2018 was the first one. Anyway, So here we are, back to reality. So yeah, no, a lot of people don't know this, because I have been taught to not humble brag or make it about I. It's a we situation with USWA. It's a family, and it really is. But USWA stands, obviously, besides the birth of my daughter and my relationship currently, as one of the top 5 most proud moments I've ever felt in my entire life, because for the first time ever, I was handed the book. Mm-hmm. I was handed the entire responsibility. I was handed everything from top to bottom, from production all the way down to who I wanted on the roster. And it was as smooth as a first show should never even be allowed to go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was absolutely 100% perfect. Like, we ran into no logistics issues. We ran into there was nobody that was late. There was nobody that had called out and said they couldn't make it. There were no budgeting issues. There was no pay cuts. There was no hey bros. There was nothing, no security issues. We filmed it. It looked good. I mean, it was absolutely, for all intents and purposes, just the most perfect show. And to this day, proudly, one of the best USWA shows that they've put on, without huge names. Like, that was the show that we started pushing the whole Chance versus John for the federated title thing. That's where that was born at. But we had matches that involved guys like Lance Alante and Jason Falcone and Johnny Romano, and just names that would not be synonymous with top shows. Right. But for some reason, just made these guys feel like superstars because of how they were taken care of and stuff like that. And the church, graciously made everybody feel at home. And I know I probably shouldn't say anything on a public level, but Johnny Romano recently, I think it was about a year ago, just before COVID and stuff like that. Like, me and him don't get along. He doesn't like my attitude. He's one of those kind of people who doesn't appreciate my brashness. But he sent me a message saying that, you know, putting him on that show saved his life and saved his career, because he was going through a really dark time at the moment, as a lot of us might be. And I was too at the moment. And I wanted to put people I know and my friends that I'm comfortable around on that show. And so to get that message, you know, a while later, I've gotten a lot of those recently, and it's really made me sit back and realize how important life is. Especially with a lot of things. Like, I've gotten several messages outside of wrestling saying something similar to that. Hey bro, thank you for including me in this. You really saved my life and shit like that. So, Johnny, if you're watching, man, glad I could be there for you. Just know, even though I'm an asshole, I still love you. But yeah, so understanding from the whole booking standpoint and how much fun it can be, it's also very tedious. And I get that. Would I ever book Ronnie Bass? Probably not. I'm just kidding. I don't know the guy. Fun fact, his father, Ron Bass Sr., his last ever wrestling appearance was in a United States Wrestling Alliance ring.
Oh, wow.
God rest his soul. Yep. He was the very first speaker we ever had for the Don Curtis Memorial Cup.
Wow.
And tragically, a couple days after that, he passed. And I was thankful to
know this.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. This is legit. Yep. This is all shoot.
I feel like perfect for him. You should have. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was so good talking to him, like getting a little bit of knowledge and info. And then, you know, sadly, he passed away. And that's another one of those moments where life is precious. Are there any significant moments in your wrestling career that have made you change perspective on how you think about your everyday life, not just in athletic stuff, but just life in general?
There's a few. Let's rewind back. Let's start back and move forward. Let's see. I think I want to start with, well, obviously the first one, which was the rotator cuff tear, which was eye-opening in itself. So the way it happened was at now Original Championship Wrestling, I guess. Now,
OCW.
which was, yeah. So it was Ocala at the time. The way my rotator tore was through doing a lucha arm drag. So one of my other coaches while I was training was Lacey Lane, who's known for her tightrope, top rope stuff. Yeah. Which obviously now in NXT, she's known as Caden Carter. She helped train me with a few in-ring things, including lucha stuff. So I know how to do it. I just don't do it in the ring that much because I'm not Ray Phoenix and I'm nowhere near as good as Phoenix. I'm more of like that third party because she learned her stuff from Ray Phoenix. I learned my stuff from her. Could I do it? Yes. I don't see the need to. And if I
smart to do it, no.
Exactly. So I haven't done it in a ring in a match. I've done it maybe once or twice since then. And if I do it as like a miss spot rather than actually landing it. So I did that lucha arm drag where you jump up and you pull them over. So when I was pulling them over, instead of going over me and taking the arm drag, that person pulled me, which caused the tear and then went over.
Oh, great.
So the eye-opening part of that was more of, this is something I shouldn't do anymore. As far as the move goes, not wrestling. I did not want to quit wrestling. But what it made me consider was I need to be more focused on my body awareness and my mobility, which is why what you see in the ring with me is like anything I do, I know what my body's doing. I know what their body's doing. Because that helps. One, it helps you be a safer wrestler. Two, right. it keeps you from getting injured. So if you see me holding someone tighter, or if you see me just holding someone for a second to make sure I'm doing something right, that's for everyone's safety. That's right. Okay, what body parts need to get tight to do this move? What body parts need to be tight to do this move? Like, that's how I think of it now. Like, whenever someone tells me, okay, can you take this move? I've never taken it before, but what do I need to do? Okay. All right, got it. Now I just need to know what my body needs to do, you know? So I don't really think about what they're doing to do the move. I'm thinking about what my body needs to do to take said move. Right. And that makes a world of a difference. Like a move I took this past weekend was basically a back suplex, but they flip me over and I land on my stomach. So basically like a reverse body drop. So I knew I had to flip. I just needed to know, okay, when do my legs lay out rather than crumbling into a fetal position and then breaking myself. So I knew when to lay out. I had to know what part to do that. So body awareness has increased tenfold, which helps significantly. Booking shows. I've booked a few now, and that teaches me. I mean, it's like we talked about before with budgeting. I mean, I apply it to my life now too. So creating good budgets and stuff like that has been increased. Just wrestling in general.
Should I buy a French press or should I buy this IKEA table?
Exactly. And have the money to get both.
French press wins all the time.
Yeah. But then also timing. Like timing in wrestling, great. Same thing in life. Like just to buy said French press, I waited for it to go on sale, Like it's stuff like that.
Wait for that moment to execute.
Exactly. So like, okay, I wanted to make this moment happen, but the crowd isn't there for it. So obviously you don't want to do that moment, because like even one of my comments I made at the River City Wrestling Con match, I waited for the right moment to say it where the crowd was quiet and they could hear it. I'm not going to say it while they're cheering when I called Jose a bartender with a hobby, because if
Which
they were
I popped for.
If they were cheering, nobody would have heard it.
Right.
I'm gonna wait for it to be dead silent so they can get the oh. Because if you remember the crowd, I said it, slapped him, and they went oh. And then they thought you understood when they processed, and then when they processed what I said, you hear them go oh, like just called them out. That
was one of those moments where I was actually backstage, and Gorilla, the curtains are very thin, so obviously I'm only a few feet away from the ring, and I heard that. And I think, I forget who I was talking to. I was talking to, I want to say I was talking to James Storm at the time because he was there for both days. He just didn't have a match that day. Mm-hmm. Wait, yes, he did. He was in the main. But as soon as I heard that, mid-conversation, I'm like, did he just, oh my God. Like this just got personal.
Yeah.
It was insane. Like I loved it. And that's why, just between you and I, the conversation that we had leading into that, I know that there was a lot of pushback. You were not happy for certain reasons. I was not happy for certain reasons, probably for a lot of the same reasons. But I told you, and I gave you my word, that it would be magic. It would be show stealing. It would be perfect for the moment. And it was, because Jose being a Jacksonville local video game bar owner and, being in the setting surrounded by video games and people who play those a lot, it was the perfect match. It was the perfect moment. And to be honest with you, one of the only guys I would trust to take that on, and that was you two. So and we won't get into the logistics of booking River City Wrestling Con and all that shit, because it is what it is. You can just watch the behind the scenes when that drops. But yeah, like we've had very similar experiences, and you and I share conversations about this kind of stuff all the time. Is there anything outside of wrestling and CrossFit, diet and eating, obviously, that that you enjoy to do that people would be shocked to know that you're either really good at or you just enjoy it as a hobby?
Enjoying as a hobby right now. I'm still learning. I'm learning how to play alto saxophone. Literally, it's been like 2 weeks. So I'm still learning. Is
that a shoot? Like that's real?
Yes.
Or are you just messing with me because of the joke we said earlier?
I'm literally teaching myself how to play alto sax.
Okay.
And I've debated it. It's more so because my tag partner, Marquis, is like, oh, we're new doing the shit out of this. I'm like, we better not. So there might be a show every now and then I might bring out the saxophone. So that's, I am an avid Funko collector. I don't collect as hard as I used to, but I don't have as many as like the hardcore guys have, but I want to say close to 75 maybe Funkos. Yeah. But I'm not the type of collector that keeps them in the box. Yes, I know it's frowned upon, blah, 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 but I keep mine. So all the ones I get, I make sure they're favorites of some form. I don't get like, hey, John Davis. I don't get anything that I know I wouldn't keep, If I get from friends and family, those are memorable, even though sometimes like I have family members give me ones. They don't know. They know what I like, but they don't know like what I love,
Exactly.
So like, I got like a Scooby-Doo one. I never would have gotten myself a Scooby-Doo one, but I knew the meaning. Like it's the thought that counts, you know?
Right.
My favorites are like my Dragon Ball Z ones, my big Funkos from like, I have the Amazon. I think it's an Amazon exclusive. I have Exodia from Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh my God. I'm going to come to your house and steal that.
Yeah. It was a birthday present for myself. It was my birthday present for myself last year.
Nice.
So the funny thing about that one was I completely forgot about it. I pre-ordered it in March and it showed up in June because it was on back order, and it just showed up and I'm like, when the fuck did I get this?
Yeah.
And then like even friends do great jobs. Like my girlfriend is incredible. She got me a Funko of myself. Like I'm wearing Task Force gear. This was back when, so funny enough, and if fans see this, you can still do this to this day because fans still do this to this day. I cut a promo at Go Wrestle one year. I don't even remember how I ended up bringing it up in a promo mid-show, talking about how much I love puffy Cheetos. And I told them, if you are a true fan of Mikey Spandex, you will bring me puffy Cheetos. The following week, I got about 5 bags, like family Cheetos. And ever since then, at least at Go Wrestle, anytime there's a show, I get at least 1 bag of Cheetos. And so, yeah, so she got me a custom Funko with me holding a bag of Cheetos as well.
That's probably one of the most thoughtful and significant gifts I've ever
I'm never going to top that gift. Like ever.
Nobody ever in your life that comes along. It doesn't matter if it's your mom or anybody. Nobody's going to be able to top that. Like that's the most thought out thing.
Yeah.
Ever.
And she planned it for like a month. I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
Jesus, dude.
Like, come on. And it was but even to this day, I still get bags of Cheetos.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's the funniest one, which no one has ever topped this one, was got bags of Cheetos, had Go Wrestle the day before. Following day, Marquis and I were at Tampa Bay Pro. This is right around when Task Force first formed. And it was one of our first times being heels at a show, too. So we were heels. Keep in mind, Daytona, Tampa Bay, they're what, 2.5 hours from each other?
Give or take. Depends on how fast you break the law.
Yeah. So the Cheetos were only centralized to Daytona at that time. That day, we walk out, there's a little girl handing me Cheetos at Tampa Pro. And I look at Marquis, I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, it's making its way somewhere else.
This is a thing now.
And I look at Marquis, and my face is just like, we're bad guys. I can't take those. So I look at her, I look at him, and his face can tell. Like, we can basically read each other so well. So he knows what I'm about to do. Yeah. So as she's handing both hands out, I smack it so hard right out of her hands. And it flies across the room behind her and nails another kid in the face. And I was just like, you couldn't have planned that. And I didn't even see it. I just smacked it and walked away, and Marquis saw it. And he just started dying laughing. And he's like, you hit a kid in the face with the bag. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
That's awesome. That's ultimate heel shit.
Oh my gosh. I still got the bag, luckily. But like, I
was going to say, did you at least get to enjoy some of the Cheetos?
Yeah. So like at intermission, I came out and I apologized to the kid. I was like, I'm so sorry. It wasn't meant to go this way. And then the little girl who handed me the Cheetos, turns out she was the niece of, do you remember Gorilla Press Media, that guy?
Yeah.
It was his niece. Okay, so he came down for a show. So then that's how we knew. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I felt so bad. It was so funny.
I wish I could have seen that. Is there a video of this?
I love being a bad guy, but when I love being a bad guy, but when it comes to kids, that's when I feel bad.
Is there video of the Cheeto incident?
You got to ask Dax. I'm pretty sure there is.
That's a no, because I'm not doing that.
There definitely is footage. No, there definitely is footage because I've had clips from the match, but I haven't seen the full match yet.
Okay.
Because we were facing Dakota. So I don't know if we have, I don't have the full footage, but it's somewhere out there.
Okay. So going back into the whole wrestling thing, like coming up July 31st, we have the Don Curtis Memorial Cup where you are a competitor. Obviously, you're on the flyer.
Second time.
Yep. Yep. Do you have any, I mean, obviously other than the unstated winning the thing, do you have any expectations for the show? Do you have any goals set in mind? Is there one particular person in the randomized lineup that you're looking forward to kicking their ass or at least having a classic with?
I mean, obviously I want Stunt Marshall. We have a long-standing thing going right now. Do I need to face Stunt Marshall? Do I feel the need to face him for Don Curtis? No. Afterwards, we'll definitely have a talk. But if I cross paths with Stunt, I would love to face him again. I finally got my first win on him. And not only that, that was actually, fun fact, my first win at USWA.
Yep.
So first win on Stunt. But we've had 3 matches. We're currently 2-1. I'm 2-1, 1-2 against Stunt. So do I want to face Stunt again? Yes. If I face Stunt again, I need to win. Like, that's how it is. If he beats me again, like, there's no point in us facing each other, you know? Whereas if I beat him, it's 2-2. We got to have that rubber match. So I'm definitely down to face him again, especially in that randomized order. Kiko Harris is a guy I've always wanted to face one-on-one. We've always been in tag matches against each other, but we're both, I would say, insanely, it's just like his tagline. We're both insanely athletic.
Yeah. Let me pause you right there. That is honestly a dream match of mine. Yeah. Like, I love Classic and I love Task Force, and obviously you guys have this back and forth thing.
Yeah.
That Classic Tag Force became a meme for a little bit.
I remember that.
But from an athletic standpoint and just a pro wrestling, like, people that I've worked with standpoint, Kiko Harris, Mikey Spandex, put that as your main without anything on the line, with no tournament, no trophy, no nothing. Just let them go ham for 30 minutes and watch what happens.
Yeah. So Kiko's one I would love to face. I feel like the Don Curtis Memorial Cup this year, more than any, is the perfect time for anybody to prove themselves. Because we talked about it before, at least to your knowledge in USWA history, you've never had a Don Curtis Memorial Cup where every single champion is also in the tournament.
That's correct. Yep.
This is the first time that there is. So would facing Kiko be great? Yes. But it would be more of like I want to face Kiko for the match we would have. So it's that same deal you just said. I would rather face Kiko where there's nothing on the line and we just tear the house down.
Yeah. Like, there's no like stipulation or expectation. You just guys know your goal is just to absolutely tear the roof off the place. Yeah.
If there's anyone, and there's different aspects on who and why I want to face each person. Kiko would be to have that kind of match. Cody would be to have that kind of match because Cody, out of nowhere, he was already a great wrestler.
Cody very surprisingly athletic.
Well, because the dude lost a ton of weight.
Yeah.
So now he's even more mobile and athletic. And if you've watched him recently, Cody has been tearing it up.
Yeah.
So I would love to, like, if you open that show in this randomized, however this tournament's going to go, if you open that show with me and Cody, I would lose it. Like, I would be so happy. If I end up facing Cody and Kiko, that'd be so cool.
With it being randomized too, like, there's a good possibility we could see Kiko versus Cody.
Yeah.
There's a very good chance of that happening because with the tournament, it's all randomized.
Well, it would be a great match to see. I would pay to see that too. But my big, with the exception of Stunt, my big want, because this is like last year's Don Curtis, well, not last year, but the last Don Curtis Memorial Cup
it was last year.
Oh, so it was because it was before COVID. Yeah. So last year's Don Curtis was for me to show the world who I am, for me to show USWA who I am, because I think that was maybe my second or third show.
Yep.
So that was for USWA to be like, okay, this guy's somebody. This one is now for me to prove that I can do something at USWA. So I feel like I'm going to call it out now. I'm going to speak it into the universe. I want Chance. That's my prove myself. Because if I can beat the Federated, if I can beat the Federated champion in the tournament, who's to say that doesn't skyrocket me to the top, win or lose in the Don Curtis Memorial Cup? If I can prove that I have Chance on the ropes in his match, because the man's faced superstar after superstar recently. Yeah. he hasn't had a non-high profile match, you know? So giving someone unexpected, like I could pull one out. And if I end up doing that on Don Curtis, who knows what that leads to? Like if we open and I end up beating Chance, the rest of that tournament for me, as much as I'd want to win the cup, doesn't really matter because I know for a fact
just beat the federated champion.
Who cares? I know I have a shot at that title down the line, you know?
Yeah.
Like if I don't, I mean, no offense to you, y'all ain't thinking straight, you know?
I'm thinking straight. I just have a process.
Exactly. So, and everybody would have to process that. Like this guy who's won one match at USWA just beat the federated champion. Like imagine saying that. And
but what's that say for the champion too? That's been built up for well over 1,000, almost 100 days at this point.
Yeah. So like, who's to say that the rematch would have the same result, you know?
Yeah.
So that would be a great matchup. Who else? I mean, Blanco and I, we've crossed paths in tag matches and we would that would be another one like a Kiko Cody. We would tear that match up too.
Dude. Yeah. I'll let that one simmer for a moment.
So did I get everybody?
So let me go. I'll pull up the flyer real quick and we'll run them down.
Kiko Cody, John, Kiko Cody, Blanco, Chance,
Jake Logan.
Jake Logan is in the tournament. He was one. I wouldn't mind facing him either, just because more so it'll be fun.
Right.
Because the way I mess with people and the way I joke around, you've seen it. I feel like I could get into Jake's head very easily by just constantly being like, wait a minute, who are you?
Okay, so
back and forth with him.
So we've got Chance, Stunt, Kiko, Cody, Blanco, Dagan, Jake Logan, and you.
Dagan is one. I've seen him a few times as far as wrestling goes. I know he's been around forever. He's the vet in that tournament, isn't he? He has the most experience out of everybody.
Dagan?
Yeah. Would that be arguable? I'm trying to think who. Besides
Stunt Marshall, who is Don Curtis himself incarnate. Yeah. He's got like 100 years of experience. But for every purpose, Dagan is the most experienced on the card. He's the veteran.
Be one to like outsmart you. I mean, so.
Oh, if I was in the tournament as a wrestler, he'd be the one to go after.
But like in general, he would be the one to outsmart us, like into conserving himself and knowing how the tournament works.
Yeah, Dagan's a very cerebral wrestler. Yeah. But if I were a wrestler in a business and I was in this tournament, he'd be the first one I'd go after. Just because I know that if I can beat the veteran with all the experience and the wiliness to be able to take me out, if I can get past that, the rest of it's a cakewalk. The only thing I have to do is wait for the big boss at the end.
I would still want Chance first because of the fact that Chance has beaten Dagan. So I can't think of who Chance hasn't beaten, or at least who he's over the past few years, who hasn't he beaten at USWA, you know?
I mean, you got to think he's beaten everybody that's in the federated stable. Like he's the only non-federated champion to hold the federated belt and run through their entire organization for 1,100 days.
Yeah. So he's virtually unstoppable at this point. I've had a match with his former tag partner, Omar Amir, which is similar in size.
Hey, Google, how many years is 1,100 days?
1,100 days is equal to 3.014 years.
So dude's been champion for
almost
3.25 years.
So,
damn.
I mean, if anything, that's just the sign that it's time, you know?
Because he got the belt just after No Turning Back. So,
but Stunt's been champ for over a year too, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, he has.
Almost. So,
yeah,
I think, that classic, they've been for a couple of years too, haven't they?
They won the belts at No Turning Back.
So last January.
No, that was Don Curtis Cup. They the show that I booked 3 years ago.
Oh wow!
They won the belts there, and they have not lost them since.
I mean, in my opinion, like beating any of those guys means opportunity for any of us guys. For myself, Jake Logan, Blanco, like this is our opportunity to show, like, hey, we title matches. Like it's time for USWA. It's time to clean up
It's a new season.
Exactly. It's time to show that there's new people in town and we're here to take over, you know? So
I agree.
any of those titles would be awesome.
That brings me to my next question, man, and it's probably going to be my final because I am hungry. Then we'll chat it up, have a little banter for a minute.
Of course.
You are a tag team specialist for everything that it's worth. You're a tag team guy.
Mm-hmm.
But you've also fought Stunt Marshall 100 times, which he is the current elite haterweight champion. And then you stated that you want Chance because he's beaten everybody and he's got the experience.
Yeah.
With you being a tag team specialist and also having several singles matches with the current elite champion and wanting the match against Chance, which of those would you want more being your situation?
I still think as much as which we can even snip this and make this a statement. And that way, because you know how Stunt Marshall is going to be, he's going to respond in some way, shape or form. So let's clip this into something for USWA. I still want Chance. Chance is the bigger opportunity. Facing Stunt would be more of that opportunity to prove that basically beating him wasn't a fluke because I won by disqualification. I need to beat Stunt to prove that I can beat Stunt, not just because he kicked me in the nuts, So when I beat Stunt, I want it to be clean, whether it be in the Don Curtis Memorial Cup or outside of that afterwards. Whereas with Chance, I just feel like beating Chance, if that were to happen, would thrust me to the top. And that would also it's basically that double-edged sword where beating Chance shows, okay, Mikey can hang with the best of the best, while also saying, okay, Mikey can probably beat Stunt too, because for all intents and purposes, Chance is the best USWA has to offer, the absolute best. Stunt's right there underneath him, I would say. And I mean, even those two going at it would be that would be a marvel to see. Your two best singles champions going against each other. That would be an insane match at the Don Curtis too. So whether I face one of them, whether I face both of them, whether I see basically winner of round one faces me after hopefully, and when I win my first round matchup, either way, that's something incredible and crazy that could happen.
Sounds like you've got a plan, man.
I have goals, that's for sure.
Goals and aspirations are good to have in this business. And out of everybody that if we have this conversation 9 times out of 10, there's a way we can make it happen. I'm always rooting for you.
I'm down.
Always pushing.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you'd like to shout out before we get done? I know that we both have DCCW this Saturday, June 26th, but this will probably go up shortly before then. So maybe they'll see it. If not, I'll see you there. But your socials, your job, shout out anything you want. You gotta.
Absolutely. You can go ahead and follow me on Instagram at Mikey Spandex 1992. I don't use my Twitter too often, but my Instagram filters through it. So I automatically upload to Twitter. That one is just at Mikey Spandex. You can follow my tag team, Task Force. On Facebook, it's just Task Force. You can look it up and you'll see us there. Merchandise. If you go on that Task Force page, or if you scroll through my Instagram a little bit, I probably need to post it again. We have QR codes now. I've decided to update the technology, and it seems like after I did it, everybody wants to do it now, which that's great. I told people, I had people ask us if they can steal the idea. I go, dude, it's public forum. Do it. I tell people I'm not the type to be like, hey, this is mine. This is my thing. You can't do that. QR codes are mine. I didn't invent QR codes. Make your own damn QR code, people. It's the easiest way to put all of your merchandise things in one link, and then you can send it off and people will do it. So by all means, my QR codes are on everything. I need to post one. I'm probably going to put one on the little highlights thing on my Instagram now because I didn't do that yet. So that come see me at shows, because certain merchandise I do back and forth exclusives. So we don't sell shirts at shows. I do have a business card that has our QR code on it. So come see me at a show and grab a business card, which has all my social information there too, along with the QR code. And then also stickers. I sell stickers. but those are only at shows. So you'll only find me at a show selling stickers. You won't find me selling them online or anything else. I think that's mostly it. That's as much as I can think of.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head. It's a lot of stuff. So
I don't even mess with Twitter, man. All right, guys, I will be around Mikey Spandex twice over the course of literally the next 4 weeks. So if you have any questions, you can just throw them at me and I'll be happy to do a part 2 because conversations with Mikey come naturally. So this is one of the best experiences I could possibly do. And I'm trying this whole new Zoom thing for the website and stuff like that. So I'm going to just run mine down real quick. Guys, thank you so much. This has been Mikey Spandex. I am Brandon Corey Alexander, aka JustBCA, and you can follow me at Twitter at JustBCA. Instagram is Brandon Corey Alexander, all one word. Facebook is Brandon Corey Alexander. YouTube, JustBCA, where this is at. And you can check out justbca.com for all of your BCA, Schweipen, and exclusive USWA and Sacavelli merch. Guys, I love you. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. And Mikey, I'll see you this weekend, buddy. Kick some ass.
Yes, sir. I'll see you Saturday.